Howdy YouTube. So today I'm going to talk about my blog script, or I guess it's more than a script. It's a C++ program with a script wrapper sort of deal. And if you're wondering what I'm petting, it's Waddles, my friend's dog. So anyways though, I'm using it to host my blog website, which is tripcodeq7.xyz, and another website, renegadecomputing.xy, or actually it's .org. I actually paid the extra, I think $4 or $5 to get a proper domain name. So essentially, let me pull up a terminal here. Okay, so let me just navigate to the blog website's directory. I think I have it under tripcodexyz, and let's take a look at some of the code. So basically, as it stands now, how you use it is pretty well outlined in the README, but I guess I'll go through a few of the things. There's two main scripts. There's new and re-render, and new is just used for creating a new file or new entry into your blog. So let me just create a new, we'll call it test video, test blog for video. So we'll just enter that in, and as you can see, it kind of creates some of this primitive markup syntax sort of stuff at the top. One just includes the title for the blog entry, and the other includes the date. And from there, you can just enter in like, hi, I'm making a video today, which is what I'm doing. And the other thing though, which is kind of cool, is you can have green text and tabs which are formatted correctly, and you can just press enter instead of making a BR HTML tag. So let me I guess make some green text. Be outside, get bitten by mosquito, reflect why mosquitoes exist. So not a very interesting entry, but I'm mainly going to use the blog for like kind of just filling out smaller projects, which I guess I've never made a video on, or sort of in progress sort of markers. So from there, if I want to add an image, I can just do shift and then cache mark, or shift and 4, and end it with a semicolon, and that's kind of how all the syntax works. So for that, what I'm going to do is enter in a image file, and we'll go and pull up an image directory, which is also on the site. So let me go to tripcode.xyz again, and let's go to images. So how about we pull up lane.jpg, and we just end it with a semicolon. And then just to show off the other feature, what if we make a link to, I don't know, Wikipedia or something? I think it's HTTPS for that. So we have our, I guess, kind of just written up markup code here of our little pointless, I guess, test log entry. And we can just press colon, then WQ. And I guess now to the second thing. So, I am actually getting bit by mosquitoes. But after that's pretty much made, you just have to set it up with the server. But if I run, I guess I called it web sync, but essentially it's just a, like cat it here, it's just a single line. It's just an rsync command to my server. But when I run it, it'll do rsync over SSH and sync up the new website with the, I guess, prior version? Well, anyways, it just updates it manually, and it's only updating the stuff through the website directory, so none of the actual active code is running on the server. In fact, the server only hosts static HTML web pages, and I guess if for the Renegade computing site, a little bit of probably JavaScript for the PayPal stuff, but it's just copy and paste. It's hosting static pages. There's no MySQL database. There's no really anything else but an Apache server currently running, which kind of lets you free up the resources on your computer and actually take care of most of the stuff you need on your actual system. And then, if I just start up a browser here, let me go to, I guess, tripcode.q7.xyz, and you can see the new page. So yeah, it kind of just talks about my mosquito predicament and has the link to Wikipedia. But, okay, now to talk more about the actual website sort of thing. So, as you can see, it's test blog for video, but if I press previous, it will go to the last entry, which is about Renegade computing being up. I did not do the CSS for that very well. In fact, it was actually most of my friend's CSS, which I hacked up, but not to go on a diatribe, there's a few entries here. The date stamp and title displayed. It also, in the website directory, downloads is linked to downloads, which doesn't really have much on there, but I'm going to put the code up for this site in downloads. And I might start using this instead of GitLab for some of my stuff, or maybe both. But if you go to that, or if you go to contact info, pretty much all of that stuff can just be dragged and dropped into the, I guess, website directory. So okay, the second main thing in the website sort of management script is a function called re-render, or actually a script called re-render. And essentially what that does is lets you make edits to various files in the draft directory, even delete files in the draft directory, and it will automatically relabel them and regenerate the website based on your edits. So let's go take a look at that. So first, it starts by calling a program called relabel, which then kind of just goes through a loop over here and calls the markup function for each one and creates a directory, and then links them together. And the last thing it does is links the drafts final file with the I guess previous file in the list, and sets the latest file that's generated to index.html, which index.html is simply just a redirect to the last entry in the blog. So let's get out of that, and let's actually see the script run. So I changed a few lines in drafts. So let's go down to last one, test blog for video. And as you can see, it has 2 new lines. I really hate mosquitoes and my legs itch, and also, behold, the great indoors free from the Texas heat. So let me just write that file. And run re-render. So after re-render is finished running, it pretty much calls markup CPP in the script a bunch, and you'll have the new website generated. But there's one thing you still have to do, which is just run websync, which is simply a call to rsync, but I spelled it wrong. Underscore, sorry about that. And I have a pre-shared authentication key, so I have to enter in a password for that. And afterwards, I should be able to just pull up Chromium or the browser of your choice and go to tripcode.xyz, and it contains the new text. For example, though, if I wanted to delete this file, let's say I copy it and I paste it again, relabel this as test blog for video 7, and then delete the old one here. We'll just do, in Ranger, you just do D and then capital D. And quit. Let's just run re-render again. And after that's pretty much finished running, we can go take a look at the drafts directory again. Or not the the drafts directory and actually the website, because it will actually edit the names of the drafts before the main portion of the script. So let's go take a look at that directory. So you go to drafts and type ls. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And since it's essentially just the same code again, I'm not gonna run websync, but I guess that's about it for that. So now to take a more in-depth look at, I guess, my program. So I guess we should start with markup.cpp. which actually reuses some of the functions I've used in my other program, so it wasn't actually that big of a deal to write. So what's vim markup.cpp? It's one up or one back in the directory hierarchy. So uses a few libraries. I have a max image width defined as like a I guess a macro. So if you change this value, it'll scale it to a different maximum image width. And image magic rescale is simply used to determine if it's going to actually rescale the images of ImageMagick before uploading it to the website, where having large image files that are kind of compressed down to a smaller, I guess, having large image files that are kind of compressed down to a smaller file before resending it to the server will save quite a bit of time with rsync and with limited bandwidth web page loading. So on and talk about the actual program. So here's just my kind of Pythonic string split function. I also wrote something called replace all, which just simply replaces a found string with a replaced string. There's something called get name from path, which will just get the actual file name from a path. So if you like run ls and it spits out the full directory names, you don't have to run a separate ls command just to get the names from that. Or actually I think it's used to get the actual file names from the arguments, because it has this, if you go into the main loop down here, it does kind of a sanity check where it has some operators and looks for directory links, essentially. And you can see there's a variable called path, which stores the variable. So if you go down here, this is what actually kind of creates the links file. It pretty much just puts a modified path in there for the website. Well, okay, so this program isn't exactly running in like the actual website directory. It's running on your computer in one directory before it. So when creating the link file, you have to modify the path to essentially be usable without or with a different directory structure. So that's what system echo ignore the and NBSP that's used for spaces, and then break lines, also an HTML tag, and essentially just echoes that into a file using a system call. In the next sections for, I guess, parsing input of raw text, so I guess this is where the actual magic happens. Uses a get line to kind of read the I guess text file, and there should be one here that also, maybe it's farther below, yeah. If you do, and underneath the check template HTML is found, it will actually insert everything using replace all. So in the main loop though, for parsing your draft, it does call quite a bit of things. Here, for example, it's getting the date and title, as well as looking for hyperlinks and the process image function, which if you go back up here is a little bit complicated, but it's not too bad. It just kind of looks like it's pretty much a simple program or function. It looks a little bit mishmashy because you have a bunch of little HTML tags stuck everywhere. So I guess in summary, that's kind of like a basic overview of how markup.cpp works. So I guess from there, I'm gonna move on to the next program in here, which I think is just relabel.cpp, which is very simple. It just uses a bunch of system calls, so we'll just glance over that. So, again, it just uses get command. I should probably have a utilities library that I can just, I guess, call, but for this, everything's done in line, and then it just calls ls/v/1, which just puts them in the right order, and then it moves the files using a system call. It's not super complicated, and honestly that probably could have been implemented in like a bash script, but I was being a bit lazy there. And I guess that's kind of everything in summary. We'll take a very quick look at re-rend, but it's just essentially a little loop in bash, and it just kind of caps the template halves to the front of links.html and to the end, and Markup does actually generate the links text document. So the rest of it's just a loop that gets like an old and new file name, and it echoes one line to refresh the actual index.html, which is just a redirect to the latest blog post. And the first blog post is 0.html, which is also just another redirect. So that's about how it works. Sorry for the people that like numbers systems starting with 0, but I guess that's how my blog script works, and it's also what's running Renegade Computing. I'll probably have it uploaded on my website, and peace, and I hope you enjoyed the video.